Now, to tell us more, we're very happy to have with us our moderator, Bibhu from Benzinga. We've got Kevin from Asia Blockchain Gaming Alliance, Carmen from CoinW, we from Ethlas, and Giulio from Pixelmon. Let's welcome them. Show me a big hand, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bibhu, and I work with Benzinga as a crypto writer. So we have gathered here to talk about an interesting portion of entertainment, which is called Web3 gaming industry. And the topic is Web3 gaming. Where are the next millionaires? So of late, what we have observed, this Web3 gaming industry has garnered a great opportunity in the market. And what we have seen across the globe, this emerging trend helping a lot of people across the industry as a whole. So people who are already in traditional gaming industry, they're moving to Web3, and that's how the industry is moving on. So what I would do, let me begin by asking Carmen, if you could say, we have seen the traditional and the gaming industry, how it is flowing. So what would you tell us how it has grown over the last couple of years? With the pandemic, what we have seen, people are actually coming out and they have spent much more time on this Web3 gaming. So what is your take on it, and how your organization is helping in terms of developing the Web3 gaming industry?
Okay, for the traditional gaming and GameFi, in the conclusions, I would say it's a little bit too sophisticated. Yeah, for an entry users. Imagine you haven't even understand what is actually blockchain and how you exchange the supply, which is the cryptocurrency, to fiat, to actually the usage of its liquidity. And now you have to start to play the game. Don't you think so? The step is too much for an retail users. The design of the game have to intuitive, understand of just one clicks or something simple step to follow. You don't ask people from the beginning to how do you actually earn the money, follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That too complicated, right? This is how the business cycle actually went up a little bit, because people are still very in heat to understand what is game, how do we run this game, and end of the rewards they get is actually rewardful as and monetizing. This is the driven. They actually engage themselves into this GameFi or gaming industries. And when it slows, come to 3 years, 4 years, and people start to get a little bit flattered, not very interested in this game. And how does the business cycle go? The business cycles go a little bit rough. It hits at the peaks, right? So now the people start to be a little bit more laybacks. They are not being rewardful enough already for this game. So they start to stack back a little bit, and people now you see how many people are actually still engaging in, sorry to mention, but Axie, right? Yeah. This is not something that you can actually practice daily. Yeah, it becomes a little bit slightly meaningful from day to day. So what I would suggest actually for an gaming industries to be continuations of the utilities, it's try to think of something. I'm giving a suggestions to the builders and the project owners. If you can park your game into something that you could practice every day, that could be actually stand out. And the continuations of people using of your the token as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you, Kite. What do you think? What do you think? How is it shifting from the traditional to the modern one? How you are seeing the revolution of the Web3 gaming?
So for me, right, I think people try to draw the division between Web 2 and Web 3 gaming in a very distinct manner. I was just talking to Giulio just now. Gaming has been disrupted many times across the decades, right? If you look at the 90s, the internet disrupted gaming, right, by introducing multiplayer. And in the early 2000s, mobile gaming disrupted the market. So I kind of don't think it's binary. I think Web 3 or blockchain is another means to change the player experience. And that's just a continuum of how does the gaming industry evolve, right? So that's kind of like how I view it. And in my mind, what blockchain brings to the table that doesn't exist in today's player ecosystem is two concepts. One, interoperability, that you can take assets and IP from one place and put it in somewhere else. And the second thing is ownership, true ownership, right? Like even if a studio dies, even if a company gets bought by somebody else, you own the beloved IP and characters and designs that you bought. That really is what I think anchors what Web3 gaming is.
Yeah. Jianling, anything on this outline?
Yeah, for my opinion is that why we want to use blockchain. Yeah, so we need to know what is the characteristic for blockchain. I think one is that we can hold our assets by ourselves. Its ownership is totally different than traditional gaming. If we play the traditional gaming, we buy the assets, but I think most of the time you can't do anything with your asset. The second is fairness. Yeah, for gaming, I think most for some it's enjoyable. I think it's not need for your fairness, but if your PvP, like you just compare with other people, the fairness is very important because if someone have some advantage than you, you will lose. I think this experience is not so good. The second I think is transparency, because for blockchain, transparency is very important. Yeah, we hold the money, we transfer the money, and we know some or maybe our opposite trader what's his asset and what we can do. I think transparency is very important in blockchain. So if we use these I think features in Web3 game, I think it's compared to the Web2 game, I think totally different. So in my opinion, not all types of Web2 game, they need to blockchain technology. Some type, I think, it's just for people just enjoy. They don't want to hold some assets. They just want to experience the game. I think blockchain technology is no need. But for some like PvP, some like I pay lots of money to buy the asset, and like some game like Warcraft, if you play lots of the time and you pay some of the money, I think the asset for you is valuable. So they don't want to, it's just a lose. So Web3, I think Web3 gaming for the blockchain technology can help these users can get what they want. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah. Giulio, what do you think how it has revolutionized over the last couple of years? Take us through your organization also how it does.
Yeah. So I think for me the first thing to do is take a step back. There is gamification of DeFi and gamification of finance, and then there is blockchain applied to the gaming industry. I think the first step is to admit that these are two industries that are as different as F&B and trucking.
Yeah.
They're just completely different. They both use blockchain, but they're completely different. When I think, and let's put to the side the gamification of DeFi, which was the big first wave of blockchain applications and some of the companies you mentioned and the games you mentioned. What I believe is the next true wave, and the wave that brings non-speculators, because DeFi, we're still in speculator land, financial land, comes from blockchain application into gaming. And this is, first of all, it's a different endeavor. You need to start the endeavor by saying, I need to have a fun game. Do people stick to that game? Good. Now, how can I increase user engagement and increase monetization and decrease the cost of acquiring users, because it's ultimately what makes a gaming business better, by using blockchain. And that's where the industry is moving right now. That's what's cooking under the hood in some of the very big gaming studios. The Western ones, due to it was the previous panel was talking about it, due to regulatory pressure are being quieter about it. But if you go and sit even in the top gaming studios, we're talking the billion-dollar players in traditional MMORPGs, FPS games, etc., in Korea or in China, countries that actually don't accept blockchain application in gaming for their home market, in those countries they're already building full-fledged crypto games that target markets like Brazil, India, Indonesia, and Europe, that are going to hit the market soon. And those games focus on something very different. They focus on using blockchain to give the players ownership, give the players, the top 5% of players, a chance to earn by improving the ecosystem for other players and creating opportunities for other players. They are not ecosystems where you get paid to be present. I'll stop there for now.
Yeah. Okay. As you mentioned, let's talk about the entire business model. Talking about the investors, how they are focusing completely on the model, how they can enhance the product. I would like all of you to talk about your organization, how it is the entire business model. Everybody is talking about it, and let's talk about the supply chain. How it is. I would start with you too.
So, in my mind, the supply chain of gaming is a function of demand and supply, right? And the problem to solve right now is that Web3 gaming in its current form doesn't attract real gamers, right? And most of that is because games try to put financial incentives up front, and they try to put the technology ahead of the product, right? No, like for example, when you're using AWS, you don't actually care sort of whether it's built on NoSQL or relational databases, right? You're just like, I need a database that works, right? And that's putting the product and the problem solving before the technology. And that, I think, is what the next wave of game studios in Web3 are trying to do, which is introduce fun games, have fun lead the conversation, and bring real gamers, right? Because real gamers understand the exchange of value. You give me something entertaining, I am willing to pay for it, right? Whereas GameFi players were there going, I show up and you pay me. And that's not unit economics, right? That is marketing incentives, right? So I think that's the first. The second thing around the whole supply chain you talked about is this whole idea that with the advent of any new disruptive technologies, you need road builders, right? So, for example, the rise of social e-commerce and e-commerce, right? The road builders were people like Shopify, right? Easy one-click shop builders. It was people like TikTok shops, right? Where they just go, look, you are a content creator, I allow you to sell merchandise as well. And the problem with Web3 is there isn't enough road builders, right? And so here at Ethlas, what we try to do as well is we try to do our bit to help build roads, right? A good example is we have a bot solution, right? Because when we were building games, there were just a lot of Web3 bots. And we realized that other projects were facing bot attacks as well, right? Sybil attacks, impersonation, mass account creation, etc., etc. And so what we do is we modularize this bot solution and we say, hey, look, all you other players trying to make Web3 better, here's a SDK you can use, right? And therefore, everybody builds on the shoulders of each other. So that's kind of how I think about the supply chain.
Yeah, Carmen, would you like to add on that?
Yeah, sure. So speak about not only the supply chain, actually we face very huge problems from the builder perspective. People understood that very restricted, very lessly, the game will be built on top of layer 1 because the gas fees and the building efforts, it's relatively huge and bigger as it can be scalable from layer 1. That's why a lot of builders and companies decided now to move on to layer 2 because layer 2 now the fee could be possibly get a little bit lower and it's much more scalable. So this is from the supply chain of speaking, and don't only talk about the supply. Why people buy your coin? The demand, right? So when you try to build something, you need to know where is your clientele at. Why people want your coin? Why people want to play this game? And what is the end story of this game? What can they exchange of this game token from? This is the very crucial topic. And when people start to penetrate and actually find out solutions of the usage of your end coin, this is how you started to acquire mass acquisitions and users onto your game or platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. Another aspect what I and Giulio was talking about, play to earn or play to own. Play to earn is something which is actually evolving. People are really investing time on it. People are really gathering a lot of information onto debate on, is it actually play to earn or play to own? Yeah, Giulio, I would like you to take up it.
We had this discussion briefly before the start of the panel. I think ultimately it's a terminology question, so it's a semantics point. But if we intend play to earn has been associated very much to the show up and I'll pay you in tokens and to the gamification of DeFi.
Yeah.
What we believe to actually instead have the current terminology and trending terminology around play to own entails the fact that the player, when developing or obtaining assets in the game, and by assets we mean anything from a character, a sword, a cosmetic, hell, it could be a whole environment that the player built on the map in a Minecraft kind of style. The player has a claim of ownership over that piece of digital IP. And potentially down the line can still indirectly earn from it. But that earning comes not as a closed economic circle, but as a circle where there is somebody that actually has a need for what the player has developed, which can be another player that wants to skip the progression ladder. Now, in the normal free-to-play environment, you as the developer would sell a way to skip, say, 20 hours of grind to another player. It's a big part of the economic model. Now, why can't that be done by another player that develops the character and sells it to the second player? So to the player that wants to skip that phase. That is an economic loop that actually makes sense. It has a customer, it has a provider, and it has a platform. In the DeFi economic loop, well, there is investor, and investor. It's what you call a Ponzi, sorry. But similarly, think about Minecraft. People develop spaces and build. It's the easiest example, even if, frankly, Roblox is more ahead in a centralized way. But people develop spaces on servers that then are used by other people. Now, what if you could own the spaces you created and you could micro-monetize them like a YouTube video or like a Spotify song when used by other players contributing to the ecosystem? Then you would have a layer of players, which is that 5 to 10%, that make the ecosystem better or cater to needs of the other 95%. That's a sustainable model in my view. And that's, again, semantics, but what I call play to own versus play to earn.
Yeah, is it play to earn or play to own for you?
I mean, I'm in the same camp as Giulio. Basically, I care less about the semantics. I care about, is it a real unit economics, right? And unit economics is very simply defined. You have a seller and you have a buyer. And if you have an economy where everyone's a seller, that's not an economy, right? That's a pyramid scheme. And the world where Giulio describes is actually not that far from what we have today, right? You have open worlds where studios encourage gamers to create content, and if you are on YouTube, the content creators already get paid. But across any major game, creators don't get paid. They don't get paid for their time, they don't get paid for their creation, and secondary markets already exist, right? There are massive platforms selling resellable items or goods or levels. And all this is saying is we're taking the economy back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Carmen, so is it play to earn you will watch, or it is something you need to own while you're in the ecosystem?
Right. For this play to earn, actually, people don't easily get trapped with game. You have to sit in front of your computer or laptop. That's called game. Sport, it's also a game, right? So, give you a real life examples of this NFT and Web3 game integrated with blockchain. Step N, have anyone heard of it? It's a pair of sneakers that you can possibly earn your desired design onto your sneakers. How actually does it work? Actually, you can call it also a game. In some country, I saw it in Singapore itself as well. People are very promoting the healthy lifestyle. Many of people are actually spending their time jogging out from the marinas promenades. So how does this actually works from the step and pair of sneakers and your actual ecosystem into this blockchain? First, you need a pair of sneakers. So you would prefer and tailor-make sneakers and design it in your own names or your specific preference cartoon or I don't know graphics, right? So you downloaded these apps actually on your phone. It not counted only from your walking step and started from play to earn. This is how it started. You earn the coin to your app's wallets. And not only that, you earn the digital versions of your sneakers. You also own the real sneakers that you put it on your shoes, put it on your feet and that you walk. Through these joggings and stuff, you're actually generating the reward fools, tokens and gas that actually supplied by StepN and the change. So through this, you exchange in another pair of like armors or something add a value to your shoes, or you can simply exchange the token with others buyer because they wanted to enhance their shoes. Yeah, simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jianling, what is your take on it?
We know play to earn is very popular in this market in the past years. Yeah, like StepN and Axie Infinite. Yeah. Some of my friends, they just buy lots of the shoes because they can make money. And some people tell me he just not only for invest the shoes, he also can get the health from the game. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but because I do the investment for a few years in crypto, I know for play to earn, we should know where we can get the money from the ecosystem. It's very important. Yeah. Right now we can find, if we just see the ecosystem how to operate, we can find some people they to make the money. They like the producer. They make the shoes. They make other things like Axie. They have lots of the people. They just buy the assets and to again make the money. I think like this role is producer, and also we need to find some consumer. Yeah. If it's access and we need to this to balance. But right now we find only producer in some gaming. So everyone want to make money and sell the token. This distribution for the gaming, I think, is not so good. Yeah. But right now it's bear market, so we can find some game like Axie and StepN because it's bear market. No one want to buy the token. But in the bull market, I think everyone wants to buy the token. So people can produce more and more shoes and tokens and can sell to the other users. So this, I think, is a problem right now. We think about GameFi to the Web3 gaming. So we need to find another way. Not only, consumer, I think, is very important in the system. So we need to find some point can make the consumer to pay the money for the game. Not only for just buy the token and do some invest. So this is a problem. So right now I find some, talk to some friends, they just developer in the industry. They want to do more funny and enjoyable gaming for the users. I think it's a very good beginning. We also can use this technology, blockchain, but we also need to think about why people they want to play the Web3 gaming. So this question, I think, not easy to answer, but I think must to think about it. Yeah, it's my.
All right. So since we are talking about play to earn, so let's focus on another topic, which is about the hackers or the people who are behind the hooders who are actually hacking and doing the scam, and how we all are impacting. I'll give you data on this. Like in March 2020, there was a 625 million exploit of Axie Infinity, and there was around 760 million in crypto was stolen by hackers in last year October. So we have been observing, even if the companies are really focusing on how to safeguard themselves, even if people are really trying to safeguard who are actually investing time, money on it. So how well equipped are we to tackle this situation? Yeah, I would like you to take up it.
Right. Well, so this topic is quite dear to my heart. I have an experience. I built a large part of my career in sort of the security space, right? So I think user acquisition in Web3 is really blocked on two things, right? The first is it's just not fun to be in Web3, right? It's a lot of financial speculators, there's a lot of like hidden traps, and so people don't come here because it's fun. The second thing is it's not safe, right? Like the number of people getting hacked or phished or scammed, or even projects getting their treasury wallets hacked is tremendous, right? So what I think needs to change is back to my first point very, very early on, which is no single project can solve this on their own, right? We need companies who are builders who provide services along the lines of how governments provide roads and electricity if you want a city to thrive, right? And so one shout out to maybe a company we work closely with is Ethlas Labs. So Ethlas Labs is a company that provides wallet protection services against theft. I think they are around here somewhere if you guys want to check them out. And what they do is they just went, the Axie Infinity bridge hack. If they had some sort of interception mechanism, if they had some sort of safeguard, like millions of customers would not have their deposits hacked, right? Who's doing that? And the truth of the matter is, many people aren't doing that because it is both a technologically complex problem to solve. Also, like everybody wants to just be a project that launches a token, right? So it's providers like that I think is going to add valuable infrastructure to what Web3 will become in the future. And the second thing is every project should sort of go like, what can we reuse from each other versus trying to build everything from scratch, right?
So do you think it's just a technology advancement or technology barrier for which the industry is facing such? I mean, we need to evolve in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure. Do you think technology and infrastructure also plays a role to safeguard this situation?
Oh, for sure, right? I mean, take Web2 for example. A company like, Garena, right? When they first started building games, they didn't have to reinvent first order problems like game security or like login or like even where they deposit money, right? They would just go to a bank and deposit money, right? They would basically use one of tens of security companies out there who would protect their users, right? That doesn't exist in Web3. Right? And why doesn't it exist? Because number one, it's a nascent industry, and number two, like the road builders have not come, right? So the companies that protect what became the Valves and the Epic Games and the Blizzards of the world, those companies need to exist in Web3 before Web3 studios can really build on that and actually be a lot more focused on growth.
Yeah, Giulio, anything you want to add on it?
I agree with we and Ethlas, but maybe to put my spin on it, I think behind some of these issues there is ultimately the positive side of Web3 and blockchain, meaning ultimately it's an early stage industry and it's very developer driven rather than product driven.
That has to be clear, yeah.
And because it's developer driven, developers, and I love developers, so the best people in the company, and anyway, but developers tend to want to build, their fantasy is build everything from scratch. What they shy away from is developers like to rebuild the wheel every time they build a car. That's why that's their natural inclination. Product focused people or mentality and culture will instead focus on practices and what should we build versus buy. And I think in the end, cybersecurity, there is an element of innovation to it, but I think for 99% of companies out there, 90% of cybersecurity is just practices. So having the right practices, bringing the right partners on board, putting the right parachutes, whether it's intersections, whether it's things as simple as CAPTCHA, or CHAPTA, however you pronounce that, and user authentication layers. All of these are things that frankly are just standard SOP in the financial and normal gaming industry, anywhere where you have valuable accounts, and relatively easy to port over. So I think a good 90% of the problem can be solved by good practices, and then 10% is that layer of extra technology on top. But it's not about reinventing travel to Mars.
Yeah.
It's mostly about applying best practices.
Jianling, you want to add, like, It is something the technological advancement is required. Developers need to focus more on safeguarding their product. How we can deal this situation?
Yeah, because blockchain, we can hold the blockchain or some assets in house. We just put them on the line. So people, if they want to store your assets, they have many ways to do this. So, in my opinion, right now blockchain some similar sometimes like the dark forest, because we don't have the regulation right now to protect the people. They can protect their crypto asset. It's not easy. And for me, I just in the industry for more than a year, but still right now, most of people they can't use the wallet. Some like crypto infrastructure, it's not easy because they need to remember the privacy, see the other things. They need to buy some hardware wallet. I think it's right now for the access to the crypto world. It's not so easy. So I think, but we also find some new startups. They can do some things more easy. Recently, we just invest some projects. They just do seedless wallet for people. They don't need to remember some complex things. They just use it like Web2. Yeah. So, and also this storage and cybersecurity can protect by some strong companies. They can do these things. So. So this can help people more and more easy to use crypto or some blockchain. And for most of the company, they maybe some game studio they very good at to build the games, but in other side maybe they can't because they don't know smart contract like X Infinity. I think they can have very good token economic, and they also have the idea about we use sidechain to lower the gas and more faster for the users, but they can't control the asset or security. So why they lose so much money? And but for me, I respect the team because they make the money and they lose more, but they pour more money for the users. This I think the team is taking the responsibility for the users. But in the future, I think if more and more game studios, they just make the money and they hold the users' assets, but security things is maybe not work. I think it's not easy for builders and the startups to do the business for a long time. So other side is we also find some like cyber security company. They can help some not only in GameFi and DeFi and other things. They can help them. This is one way. Another way is I think the regulators, they need to tell the startups and the company, you must do something first before you do the business before, like the security, like the other things. So one side is I think is regulator. Other side is the community and the industry need to help more and more companies. They need to take more attention about security first before they do the business, start the business before. Okay.
Carmen, how do you think about we can handle these hackers and the scammers in this industry?
Right. At this moment, because it's still in a very, I would say very early, but people keep building. Yeah. Try and errors is the current phase that we are all in at the moment. Because the developers and hackers are actually in a very niche people's hands. I'm speaking from a public's perspective. This is a sad, but I would say people are actually look for security and certainty from relatively bigger regulators, which is the commissions of any countries. This is somehow very contradicting to the origins of Web3s or peer-to-peer supports, but at this stage, people actually wanted to seek for some safeguards back in their heads. What if they got hacked? What if they got stolen? They need to find a body that actually provide them the security to remedies their losses. Yeah. Then we move to the next, how we're actually working on these hackers and the development of the cybersecurity. This is actually still a big question mark and unknown. We have came across a lot of builders and project owners. I would name a few actually. Give you guys an examples of Certix and Fireblocks. These guys are actually very greening into building the safeguards and contributing into the blockchain system. Until today, how many retail users understand what it is? No, right? I would say only institutional clients actually understand how to apply those. I would say. Technology into the blockchain system and make it even more simple than open to public. So these doors, when will it be built and actually open to the public, we are actually still stay tuned to look for. Yeah.
Great. So as we're talking about the scammers and hackers, so what are the challenges do you think the Web3 gaming industry is facing, and what are the challenges they're looking ahead? As we move on, challenges for the Web3 gaming industry? Giulio, you would like to start?
I think the challenges are not small. I think the first challenge at this moment, and unfortunately given 2022 and the beginning of 2023, it has become image. And there simply has, and increasingly is, a negative stigma on the word Web3. It's becoming pervasive to the point that a lot of larger VCs are moving away from it. So it's starting to impact the funding landscape, even more than the retail landscape. And I mean, I said this, I think, a couple of times before, but not in this panel. But I think one of the first things that Web3 needs to do, if Web3 wants to prevail, is start taking itself seriously. Some of the things that have happened in 2022, I mean, they're just what creates massive problems for an industry to develop itself. The industry might need to rebrand itself completely around digital collectibles rather than Web3 at some point. That's one challenge. The second challenge is that of just user funnel. So currently Web3 positions itself as onboarding on MetaMask, even for a gamer that is generally a tech sophisticated type of retail user, is a half an hour process at best, the first time. And there aren't that many wallets that are much better, frankly. So the questions are also become, how do we make that funnel clear? So, how e-commerce over the years understood that you need single-click checkout if you want to make e-commerce big. We need, well, probably not single-click, but we need easy onboarding. And at least in gaming, that is what we call, you have to earn the right to bore the user. And if you're going to create a boring experience at the beginning of the game, well, you haven't earned it. It means you haven't earned the user. So a lot of games are now putting Web3 onboarding halfway through the game. So let them play, have fun, earn the right to do something boring. These are some of the challenges, macro and micro, that we see.
Yeah, challenges for the Web3 gaming industry.
I mean, reputation is one, but for me, it's acquisition.
Okay.
Right. Any industry, any disruptive technology is only labeled disruptive if you can attract 1 billion people, right? Otherwise, it's just a cool tech, right? And right now, Web3 has no path there because of friction. And I draw the analogy to city planning. When you launch a new city, how do you get people to go there? You build better roads, right? You build highways. And right now, we just have really bad roads, right? Everything from MetaMask being a 30-minute infrastructure login experience, all the way to you don't even have service providers for the most basic needs like security, right? And so I think everybody needs to chip in to build roads, because roads isn't built by a single entity. It's usually collectively built. And here at Ethlas, we have started modularizing some of our components so that we just go, look, part of the decentralized open source community is that people help other people. And so, Ethlas has Ethlas Web Services, and we try to take useful components that have been pain points for us, and we try to offer it to other people, right? So that's sort of our take on road building.
Yeah, Jianling, what do you think? What are the challenges you foresee in the gaming industry?
I still think Web3 is very new. Web3 gaming is very new industry, very new, because for the time it's just 2 or 3 years. Yeah, so we right now we can make a decision like this. Web3 is just like this for gaming. Yeah, so and I think two sides. I think the first thing is they need to improve their knowledge about Web3 gaming. This is first for the builders, developers, and some participators in the industry. And the other ways is we need to know what the consumer need. Sometimes we just move Web2 gaming just to Web3. Most of the people, they think it's work, but it's not work. Because totally the users is different. Right now, we can touch the Web3 users. What they want, what they need is, I think most of the startups and the builders, they don't know. So they just touch the Web3 industry and they can't work. They just say, fuck, the industry is not so good for the Web2. Just let it go. But I think first you need to improve your knowledge about what you want to do in the industry. This, I think, is the most challenge for the builders right now. Yeah.
Carmen, you want to add onto it?
Right, I got a few words for builders, especially whoever into gaming. I came across some builders. They came into me and they give me the wow idea about their project, which you can walk into their Web3's metaverse and you buy a coffee and you earn something. Sorry to say, stop it. This is not practical. We don't need that.
I understand,
Yeah. What we need is actually, I give you a real life example. I like to do that because people can relate to. Simply implement the maps into your apps or whichever. And everyone must be heard about Pokemon. So you can actually look for some treasuries boxes and you open it and you get rewards. This is something that you can relate to your daily life. Yeah, not telling me you walk into something else and you actually can redeem your coffee in Metaverse, not those stuff. Yep. So this would be the challenge. I need every developers actually to rethink it a bit of your streamlining. How do you develop your game and how actually your end users will use and actually benefit from it. Not only a concept, make it practical and can be used on daily.
Okay, so time is running up. I'll just add the last question. Like coming to all of your organizations, what exactly we can expect as we move on? We're entering into 24. What we can expect to take place in the Web3 gaming industry, and what are the new things which you would like to add, which people will definitely come as we move on. We will be able to say it. Yeah, would you like to? Yeah.
Okay, for me, what I'm excited about for the macros is a lot of games are coming in, big studios, indie studios, all trying to sort of define what blockchain means to them. And the analogy I draw is mobile gaming, right? Mobile gaming, when it first started, everyone was like, shit, nobody wants to game on the go, right? Nobody likes mobile gaming. It's not immersive. Today, more than 50% of the gaming industry is mobile, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing a change as disruptive as that. So that's on the macros. On Ethlas itself, I think what we're trying to do is not rocket science, right? We have a studio site where we want to create fun games that helps bring people into Web3 in a fun and frictionless way. And on the tooling side, we want to open source more and more of our products so that we help build roads, right? And I believe that everybody should build roads and everybody should build fun experiences, and someone's going to hit it, and then the whole industry grows with that.
Giulio, you want to add what we can expect, what we can, as we move on, what is the new thing which is coming up in the gaming?
Well, I mean, forgive me if earlier I sounded pessimistic with the the reputation of the industry. The counter to that is exactly what we said. So if you go in under the hood in some of the big gaming studios or the startups that raised funding in the last 2 years, serious funding, but didn't release a game in 6 months, because you can't release a good game in 6 months, and are building true games, you'll see that between the second half of this year and particularly next year, we're going to have 70, 80 million USD budget web-free games live on PS5.
Okay.
From tier 1 studios that know how to acquire users and know that if you ask somebody to write down 16 words while creating his account, you're not getting a user. So I'm actually very optimistic that within the next 12 months, we'll have millions and millions of players playing web-free games, of which the majority, 80-90%, don't even realize that they're using blockchain. Just like if you ask that 50% mobile industry, you are actually playing a whole new business model in gaming, which is called free-to-play, that was really took ground with mobile. They don't know what free-to-play is. They just know they're playing games. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I just hope that our games will take a tiny sliver of that market in the next 1 or 2 years.
The numbers are looking really ambitious, of course. Yeah, Carmen, what is the future for the gaming, Web3 gaming industry? What are the new things you see it's coming?
Future, just make things as simple as possible for people to adopt.
Okay.
Simple as
It's
that.
very short, yeah. Jianling, you want to add as a last?
Yeah, I also optimistic about the gaming. Yeah, because right now for the Web2 gaming is a red sea market. People can't make money because some very large companies, they just take the market share. For small companies, they can't. But for Web3, for some new industry, they can make some different. They can make some, maybe in the future, next big giant will happen in this industry. Okay.
Well, yes, we have actually run out of time. Any questions? Anyone from the audience?
Hi, my name is Vishwa.
Yeah.
So my question is a very value-laden question, yeah, and I think you didn't touch upon this issue so far. So when I look at the game studios, they are building tons and tons of games, I think every day. Mafia City, kingdom building, all kinds of stuff, right? They're all fun. But is there some kind of a value that the gaming industry would try to promote across the world so that people don't get into that kind of, that kind of minded attitude about wars and mafias and stuff like that? Can you push games in directions where the population can be more benign, less malignant, less malicious?
Yeah, I think Web3 gaming is all about the metaverse and what he mentioned. So, Giulio, would you like to answer this one?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
So I won't express myself on the topic. There's two opinions. There's the ones that say, because they do it in the game, they're not going to do it in real life. So it's kind of the escape valve opinion, which would kind of probably point the opposite direction. But look, I think ultimately gaming will touch on many different subjects. The vast majority of games which are less visually compelling actually touch on non-violent gameplay already. They're less visually compelling, which means they have less marketing. They're more in the casual gaming space, so you probably hear less about them, but it's already the vast majority. Ultimately, Candy Crush, unless crushing candy also is a little bit on the violent side, but is already probably one of the biggest plays out there, and so is Minecraft and the others. In our case, we're building a monster combat game, so unfortunately we are going a little bit the direction of big monsters fighting each other, dragons and that stuff, so we won't help that way, at least in the first releases, but we'll see what we can do with the following ones.
Yeah, I believe he has answered. I mean, it's satisfactory. Yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We actually run out of time. Thank you very much. Thank you.